Hi everyone. This week in Level E, we're going to be going over lessons 61 through 64. And you will need your worksheets 39 through 41, all of Appendix 2, which is actually 10 pages, the Casio calculator, scissors, the math card games book, and the multiplication and basic number card stack. Also, this week, just as a heads up, Lesson 63 is an enrichment project, and you may want to spread it out over a couple of days. So just keep that in mind when you're scheduling your math work for this week. In Lesson 61, we're going to learn about prime numbers and composite numbers. Remember that a prime number has one and itself as factors. There's only one pair of factors for a prime number. If a number has more than one pair of factors, then it's a composite number. The number 1 is neither prime nor composite because it actually has only one factor, 1. After the 2 multiplication warm-ups, have your child read and answer the first set of questions on the worksheet. After discussing them, have your child go ahead and do the true-false questions. Next, you're going to write the numbers that are indicated in the lesson and ask your child, how can you tell that these are not prime numbers? So those answers are based on recognizing that the numbers are even, so 2 would be a factor, for example, or that they're multiples of 5 or multiples of 3, etc. After answering and discussing the oral questions that you've asked, have your child do the next 4 questions on the worksheet. Then you'll have your child learn how to figure out if a number is prime using a calculator. Make sure to read the explanations in the right-hand column. After your child completes the worksheet, ask the 2 in conclusion questions, and then there's no game scheduled for today. It was quite a packed lesson, but you can always choose a favorite game if you would like to play. In lesson 62, we're going to continue working with prime numbers, and we're going to use the Sieve of Eratosthenes. After the 2 multiplication warm-up questions, ask the oral review questions that are concerning prime numbers. And then next you're going to learn about Eratosthenes. His method of identifying prime numbers is pretty fun, and most kids really enjoy doing this project. Help your child work through the worksheet by asking questions provided in the lesson book. And then once your child has a running start, you can go ahead and back off and let them finish the chart. There is a correction at the bottom of the first page of this lesson where it says, ask, what do you cross out? And it gives some examples like 5, 10, and 100. 5 should not be crossed out because it's a prime number, and 10 and 100 already are crossed off because they are multiples of 2. So you could give possible answers such as 15, 25, 75, things like that. Next, we're going to learn about Goldbach conjecture. I find it really funny that this is still called a conjecture, even though it's proven up to 4 quintillion digits. That's crazy, right? That's a lot of numbers. I love the mathematical history that's included in Right Start lessons. It does make learning math so much more interesting because it's not such isolated subject. It's expansive because it includes history. So it's pretty fun to learn all that. Basically, Goldbach says that every even number greater than 2 can be made by adding 2 prime numbers. So for example, 5 plus 5, both of those are prime numbers, equals 10, an even number. 3 plus 7, both of them are prime numbers, that equals 10, an even number. The next set of questions and the remainder of the worksheet helps your child explore the truth of this conjecture. After the in conclusion questions, you can play Find the 2 Factors game, which is P29 in the Math Card Games book, and take a look at Rachel's blog if you haven't already done so from last week. In lesson 63, this is that enrichment project that I told you about earlier. It can be a really fun activity for the whole family to do, and it will go quicker that way if you involve more than just one student. Nevertheless, it is doable with just one student. But I found it was helpful to spread it out over a few days. I had my son do the multiples of 2 and 3 on the first day, and then do 5s the next day, and 7s the next day. So this made the work overlap through lesson 66, but it didn't seem to bother him that it wasn't what we were working on in the lesson itself. And he enjoyed the satisfaction of having done the project by himself. Notice in the paragraph under other multiples, it says that the caller should not say any even number or a multiple of 5 or a number over 1,000. So this may make perfect sense to you when you read it, but when I first read it, I was a little confused. So what it means is that if you're doing this activity as a group and one person is taking the turn of the caller, any previous numbers that have been already crossed off should not be mentioned again. Well, that would be really hard to do if the child was reading off the multiples just from memory. So instead, they should really be using the calculator, because then it would be easy to skip numbers that they know have already been called. Once your child has completed those 10 pages, whenever that happens, whether it's the first day that you do the lesson or if it's a couple of days later, you can go ahead and finish the lesson from the displaying the prime numbers section to the in conclusion questions. Your child may like to go back over the prime numbers with a highlighter once they're sure that all the pages are correct, because then it makes those prime numbers just kind of bounce out at them. For lesson 64, we are switching gears and working on problems with remainders. The warm-ups are on the worksheet, and they're a fun story problem related to prime numbers. Your child will be working through the worksheet and explaining the process used to solve the problem. Each of these problems can be solved in several different ways. So after the first problem, where you actually go through and solve it 4 different ways, the child doesn't need to show those ways for every other problem. We're just focusing on the first one to get them used to realizing that it can be done several different ways. So after she solves the first problem, I would ask her to explain the solution first. So whatever solution, whether it was addition or subtraction, multiplication or division, go ahead and have your child explain that solution that was chosen, and then go through the other options with your child. If your child did not solve the problem using division, for example, in the first place, you can point out that it is the most efficient way to solve the problem, so it might be the one that they want to choose for the other problems. You can then ask the in conclusion questions and play Division War, which is D12 in the Math Card Games book. Notice that you're going to be playing the variation where the higher remainder is the one who takes the cards. I would mention the explanation on the right-hand side in that column in case your student is not finding the remainder the way it is suggested in that column, because it is more efficient. All right, that's it for this week. See you next time. Bye-bye.